extra questions. And yeah, and then there's also a lot of organizations that you can join at UT, and all of these organizations, um, they have like a environment where like they care about like each and every one of you. Uh, and then so yeah, that's about it for my first.
Yeah, actually to go off of what Chaitanya said, I think the opportunities there are really big just because it's such a big school and it's not a school that focuses on one thing. Like you can do whatever that you like there, like from the most specific minor, or like you can do something really broad like undergraduate studies if you don't know what you want to do yet. So I think I really like UT because they provide a lot of opportunities for you to figure out what you want to do, or even like electives. I have my roommate is a biology major, but she takes philosophy classes because she likes it. So I think that's really interesting about UT.
Okay, so now we can get into kind of what you guys did during high school and stuff like that. Just like you can talk about extracurriculars, what you think is most important, um, and yeah, how you got into UT Austin.
Okay, I can go first. So actually from North Hills. So I have an IB background in I did the IB diploma and I also did some AP classes. And on top of that, I, as a design major, was enrolled in an art academy so I could build my portfolio skills. I kind of knew that I wanted to do something in the line of design since I would say like ninth grade. And that kind of helped me set up my high school career to match something for college. And so I did apply to a lot of art schools because I was going to go into design school. But I also did apply to UT Austin because in Texas, I think it's one of the best programs that they have for design. So I would say that IB gave me a very good background for that because it kind of, for UT Austin, they don't just want people who are super good at their major. They also want people who are well-rounded, but they want people who can also make sure that everything they do can be related to their major. Like in my college essay, I talked about how a lot of my life experiences were related to my major, so I could show the interest I had in my major because that's something that they care about a lot. And so I think that in terms of extracurriculars, they also want people who are really well-rounded. So they want people who are academically really good, also people who have a lot of extra side projects that are really great for their major. So I had a whole portfolio. I also went to a lot of college meetings, like portfolio shows, but also I visited UT multiple times and had conversations with our counselors about how to get in, what could make my application more strong. And I would say, at least for North Hill students, that you should do the IB diploma. I know it's a bit scary, but I definitely think it was worth it. It also helped me a lot in college because the extended essay, which is 4,000 words, definitely helped out with a lot of college classes because it does really prepare you for college. And yeah, I think that's a good recap of how great IB is and what I did basically to get into UT.
So I can go next about the business thing. So I think what the main thing that sparked my interest for business, especially like throughout high school, was definitely my parents. Because when I first started high school, I was kind of more like, or like my decided major, whatever, was actually architecture, because I also kind of had a knack for the creative side and design and whatnot. And so I thought maybe architecture was my way. But I quickly realized that, maybe that wasn't the case, just because as I kind of tried like looking more into it, I just realized maybe it didn't really fit my needs. It was commission based, so it wasn't really like a fixed salary or anything. And like it's a tough field. And so as I started like growing up and like maturing, I realized maybe like it's time to look at different fields. And so at my school, I go to Frisco or I graduated from Frisco ISD, but where we come from, BPA, it stands for Business Professionals of America. It's an organization we have at our school that's really big. If you guys know DECA or FBLA, it's very similar to that. Um, and so at our school, we have around like 250 to 300 people. It's very big. And you advanced nationals, I did every year. So it's pretty big. I think after I've been, like going through BPA and like going through those experiences, having to create those presentations and advancing and doing all the skills that is required in the business field, I kind of realized, okay, maybe like this is the thing for me. So as I took not just BPA, but as I did more classes throughout high school, I did a lot of camps outside, I did some internships and whatnot. I basically just built my experience and realized more and more kind of solidified my interest in business. So I think that's how high school definitely set me up for my interest in the business field.
Okay, can you all hear me? So yeah, so what sparked my interest in computer science was in my sophomore year, I built my first PC. I was just looking at other friends building theirs, so I built mine. And then since then, um, I've I've just been super interested in like coding and like the software and the hardware. But I ended up looking at some videos on YouTube trying to learn coding and all of that. And yeah, I ended up getting pretty hooked into it. Um, and so later on, I think it was in my junior year, I actually started like researching more about the computer science field. I feel like uh, it's not always just that you want to like just make applications. I think learning about computer science is also super interesting. So I started like looking at what I could learn more, and I came across artificial intelligence, machine learning. So I ended up just doing some research and like finding out more about it, and then I found out that it became like one of my passions about computer science. And so how I came across UT was that now that I had like I knew artificial intelligence was something I wanted to pursue. I decided when I was looking for colleges, I was looking for colleges that had good artificial intelligence programs, and UT was actually in the top 10 in the country. So that's one of the reasons I decided to apply to UT. And then another reason like UT was in my top was it was close to home. I was not the person who wanted to go out of state like other people. Um, and so in terms of my extracurriculars and stuff I did in college, I think it's consistency that the colleges like really care about. So throughout my whole college, I was a swimmer, so I stayed in the swim team. Um, and then I continuously also tried to build applications and um, just improve my coding field, coding knowledge. Other than that, I didn't really do much more. I was in NHS. I did that all 3 years, or from junior year and sophomore year. Um, yeah, so that's my experience applying to UT and what I did in college, in high school.
Something that I did actually would be similar to Veda because I'm also a design major. So portfolio classes and then like extracurriculars at school. I was part of an AHS and NHS. So NHS is for art. So I did that, and then like I used to do side volunteering at some like animal shelters, and it was just little things like that. But I think what's really important, or like what will help on a high schooler's application, is like you don't want to have a whole bunch of extracurriculars. Like it's fine if you have one or two, but you've been doing them for a long time and you kind of know what you're doing with them. If you just do like an extracurricular for a couple months, like one semester, and then do something else the next semester, like it doesn't really show what you're passionate about. But also, I think it's important to know that it's fine if you don't know what you want to do yet. And as long as you're like focusing on the bigger stuff, your grades, SAT score, ACT score, your essays, and then like the one main extracurricular thing, like that's fine. I feel like when we were all in high school, I remember stressing a lot, thinking like, oh, like what would really make a difference? That one class that you gotta be in won't make a difference. So don't worry. So I think like that was really important for me to remember. And it's really difficult to understand as a high schooler, but I learned that much later too. But yeah, I just did the basic stuff and then obviously portfolio classes, which I'd been doing like classes since like 5th grade. So I think that's where consistency was important.
Yeah, just to add on, someone gave me a really good piece of advice one time, and it was that the jack of all trades is the master of none. I think that's really like a big thing when it comes to college applications, because you don't want to spread yourself out too thin, trying to do everything at once, but not be good, like really good at any of them. I would rather just stick to one or two couple things that really like are your expertise and delve really deep into that. So like for me, I was a varsity tennis athlete. Tennis has nothing to do with business, but that's consistency. And so me playing tennis all throughout high school built that sort of consistency and like shows the colleges that, you know, you have like some sort of teamwork abilities and, you know, whatnot. And then also I had a BPA all 4 years, and I was also an officer my senior year. So I really think sticking to like a couple of small things and building expertise in that throughout your high school years and having that consistency throughout is much, much better than trying to do all these jobs and internships and like 50 clubs and all of that. So that's definitely an important thing.
Yeah, I definitely agree with what Nandini said. I think it reminds me of one of the main extracurriculars that I did was called Destination Imagination. And I did that since 6th grade. And I definitely think that like those long lasting extracurriculars that you do are very important. I would say do an extracurricular that's from your school and do one that's outside of your school, because that shows that you can do other things beyond school, but also shows that you're willing to be involved at schools, because colleges don't want people who don't like to be a part of their college. They want people who they know will join the teams in college, the ones that will participate and actually be an active student within their college.
So now we can just start getting into some of the questions that people had, which Sai can tell you guys, and you guys can just start answering. And these are from our Google form that people asked.
I'm sorry, could you give me a minute? I'm putting them up.
While she pulls it up, I have it like open so I can just ask the first one. So someone asked, does my race / ethnicity help or reduce my chances of being accepted? And does automatic admission look at your senior year GPA, or does it only care about your rank at the end of junior year?
Yeah, so
Go ahead.
yeah, so for this question, I do think that your race, ethnicity, it does affect it, because UT Austin tries to keep like it tries to be diverse, but it also tries to like follow uh, what is it, a distribution of all the different races. Um, so that's one thing. And for the second question, does automatic admission? So it looks at your end of junior year rank, because like when you apply, it's going to be before like your first semester of senior year is done. So for me, I was top 6% end of junior year, so that's what like got me to the auto admit. But yeah, that's
For that first question, I like Chaitanya said, yes, it will like affect it, but it's not so significant. I think like you're not going to get in just because you're a person of color. I think so. yes, UT really does try to be as diverse as they can. So they're not going to discriminate you because of your ethnicity, but you're not going to get in because of your ethnicity, if that makes sense.
Yeah, so I have a very interesting take on this. I kind of like agree, sort of. I definitely think that race does affect it, and obviously they're not gonna like reject you just because I don't know, like you're Indian or something. They're not gonna discriminate like Varsha said, but I think it still plays a huge role, especially in what major you're applying to. So I'm sure that Chaitanya could probably attest to this, but computer science is a very Asian dominated and male dominated major. So whereas you are a different race and possibly a female, you're more wanted in the major. So in that sense, like your race and your ethnicity or whatever demographic you fall under would definitely help push your chances. But also kind of the downside of that I think is that because colleges, especially Austin, looking for having that like equal distribution between races, so like it does suck in the sense that like you're competing with other people in your own race. So I'm not gonna try like to throw any stereotypes or make any generalizations, but I mean typically it's known that like the Asian race is like a higher performing race than other ones. So like you could be an Indian with a 3.5 GPA and have extracurriculars A, B, and C versus a let's say an African American who has the exact same 3.5 GPA and extracurriculars A, B, C. I feel like the chances of the African American getting in would be higher than the Indian, just because within the Indian race there are people who are far more higher achieving, and so I think that's kind of where like based on what like race or demographic or ethnicity or whatever you fall under, you really have to push yourself just to make sure that you are kind of at the top of that bracket, so you have that safe spot at UT or whatever college you're looking at.
Yeah, I definitely agree with what you said, Nandini. So in design, we don't really, it's a very Caucasian dominated field, especially at UT. We do have like an equal diversity of our of the male and female like demographics, but race wise, I think I am one of 3 Indians who got into the major. I think there's like 30% who are Asians in total, but many of them are transferring out. That's actually a very common thing to do in UT, to get into a major that they know that they have an easier chance of getting in to, like a liberal arts major or an arts major, and then transferring out, which I definitely think that you should look into if you do think that it's a bit difficult to go into the major that you want to go into. UT is also changing their undergraduate undecided policies, where you can apply undecided to a college in general, like the College of Natural Science or something. So if you're interested in that, look into that. But I would say, yeah, that definitely race does play a point, but that shouldn't scare you at the same time. Personally, I do think that when you are in a major that has a lot of stereotypical race like demographics, you should look into making yourself stand out more, and don't feel pressured by it, but definitely like look into maybe reaching out to a counselor or something, so you can show that you're definitely more involved and set yourself apart.
Okay, so the next question is to share like any guidance or advice in starting early for goal application. Cool.
Application?
Goal application.
Goal? Oh, am I missing out on something? What does that mean?
I'm assuming it just means like the college application.
Yeah, I think it's like when you should apply, I believe.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, I can.
Sorry,
Oh, okay. I definitely think. I think the Common App opens out in August, if I'm not wrong. I think it already opened out for this next year's applications. So I definitely would start writing your essays as soon as possible. Like even before August, procrastinating on your essays is one of the worst things you can do. But I think a really cool thing that I did that kind of helped me out was like with essays, they really look for people who like essays that are unique, which I know is said like a lot, like it's very oversaturated. They want you to be unique, but you can't be too unique. It can't be corny, but it has to be just the right amount of uniqueness that sets you apart. It's really hard to kind of distinguish. But regardless, you don't want to write about like a plain, simple, boring, whatever essay that the college will read probably thousands of times with all these applications coming in. And so every time that I had like a small idea just kind of like struck my head, like, oh, like it'd be cool to write about this just because it's unique and it's like whatever, I'd go and open up my notes app and I would just jot it down. And I think by the time I started writing or like starting my application, I had a good solid list of things that like would just be kind of neat, maybe like a metaphor I had an idea, or maybe like, oh, how do I tie this completely different idea into my college application, things like that. So like I'll say for my college essay, my main Common App essay, um, an idea struck me when I was doing notes for a class. We had to read like 30 pages of like textbook and then like do all of our notes, right? And so at the beginning of the notes, my handwriting was a very pretty cursive, whatever. By the end of the notes, it was very scratchy and messy, whatever. And I kind of just like looked through my pages and I was like, wow, my handwriting changed so fast. And all of a sudden that struck an idea in me. And so I wrote it down in my notes app. And then fast forward a couple months later, my essay is literally about my handwriting. It started off with my handwriting and how I talked about how my handwriting changes. And then I kind of tied that into like a metaphor of how like I changed throughout and all of that. It was pretty neat, but I would definitely just say like, if you ever get any small, unique, creative ideas like that, make a note of it because whenever you just sit down to start your college application, they're not going to just hit you if you try to think about it. It's just something that kind of happens to you as you go, like as inspiration hits. So I definitely would start like pretty early and kind of draft that list.
Yeah. So another question is how rigorous is the work there and what do typical class schedules look like for someone majoring in business?
I think Nandini hasn't started yet, but I am a business minor. So I'll kind of answer this question, but I'm not sure how accurate this would be for a major. The classwork, at least the first year, I know you'll have like almost every major will have like basic classes, just the introductions to everything, assuming you don't have like credits for that already. So your freshman year coursework will not be as bad. But I do know that as you decide like what you want to do, maybe second semester of sophomore year, then like it gets really bad because you have like college classes are more project based, I guess to say. It's not just going to be, oh, read this chapter and you have a test about it next week. It's about what you can do like by yourself and like doing projects and how well you can work with other teams and things like that. So in my business classes so far, it has been like we've been doing some like how do I explain it? Hands-on work kind of. So we've been like creating things for whether it's like fake idea pitches or like fake things like that. It's not really just been reading and then writing questions and answers. So yeah, but again, I don't know how it would be like for a major, like just doing all business classes. I'm not 100% sure.
Right. Yeah. Okay, so I'm just going through like the responses. Another question is, does taking accelerated classes and AP classes in high school increase the chances of getting in? And what if a student doesn't end up getting good scores on their SATs? What has been your experience with this?
I think I can start off with this. I definitely would say yes to accelerated classes. It's not the end all be all, but it shows that you can read and write at a college level, because college classes are very different from high school classes. They're also very different from AP classes, but it's very important to do those because that shows colleges that you're willing to take an extra step forward, and reach out into becoming a more like proficient college student, I'd say. And What was the second part of the question? I'm so sorry.
No, you're good. It is, sorry, one second. I'm gonna find it again. Okay, yeah. What if a student doesn't end up getting good scores on their SATs, and what's been your experience with this? I think they mean like just in general, how do you like boost your chances of getting in if your credentials aren't the best?
So I did both the SAT and ACT, and I struggled a lot with my SAT scores, but my ACT scores were very high compared to my SAT scores. But I do know that, at least from my experience and what others have told me, that testing and just doing a lot of those practice tests will help you with your SAT score a lot, even with your ACT score as well. And colleges have said that they're not looking at SAT and ACT scores these days. But I would still say take it to show that you can still do that level of reading and writing, but definitely look into taking a lot more practice tests versus just going through your workbooks, because practice tests should give you that hands-on experience of how it is to take that exam and be in that exam environment.
But something I will say about the AP classes is that if you think you can't do it and you think like you're going to get a bad grade, don't take it. It's much better to do like high school classes and do really well in them than take a whole bunch of APs and higher level classes and get bad grades in them. So if you really can't do AP classes, 1 or 2 will be fine. You don't have to take 8 AP classes just because everybody else is. But if you think you can do 8 AP classes, that's fine too. So I think a lot of times when you're in high school, like you get peer pressured into doing things that are past your capabilities. But just remember that it's important to know like your limit, and that's fine.
Yeah, as a senior who just graduated and did 7 APs, I would really recommend not doing 7 or 8 APs. It definitely kills your time. But I kind of just wanted to go back to the whole SAT thing. So I know that UT and a bunch of other colleges are also going test blind now, so you can apply without showing your score. But I would kind of stay away from that just because I feel like if you apply and don't send in a score, I think it kind of like it shows them that maybe your score isn't as good, or maybe like you're almost like insecure about your score. Like I feel like if you take the SAT or ACT and you score decent, I would say, I never took the ACT, so I don't really know how those scores work, but I would say that if you get at least a 1400 or above on the SAT, I would still definitely submit it, just because I feel like it shows that you still did it, and even if it's not where you want it to be, that's where you can have other places on your application that stand out a lot more. I know a lot of friends of mine that got like low 1400s, but they really stood out in their essays and their extracurriculars, and they still got in, also not being auto admit. And so I definitely think that it's not something that you should be too scared of. I would not apply test optional. I would definitely submit my score.
Okay, so next we have a question from someone who wants to major in business, but since that major is harder to get into, they're wondering about changing majors and if it's like an easy process.
Okay, I'm gonna try to answer the question the way I interpreted it. So if they're wanting to do business, but they're worried about getting into business, I know a really like good way to still like kind of or like graduate with the business degree but not actually through McCombs is, like Veda said, going through liberal arts. I know for liberal arts they have economics. So I know a friend at UT who is majoring in economics, which technically falls under UT liberal arts, not McCombs. And then they're minoring in McCombs in whatever, marketing or finance or whatever they want to do. So they're majoring in econ and they're minoring in business. And so by the time they graduate, it's still like they still look like they have a business degree, even though it's just from liberal arts. And then I know another one of my friends is also doing this. There is an advertising major under the Moody School of Communications as well, which is also not as competitive as McCombs. So if they're also looking to do business, they could major in advertising under Moody and then also minor in whatever they want to at McCombs.
That's a really good point. Also, to the second part of that question, how easy it is to like switch majors, it's actually not that difficult as long as, so a lot of majors will have like requirements that you need to have so many, so like so and so math credits done, or like these many English credits done. So as long as you do that, like your freshman year, just knock out your credits and then your core classes, just because you don't know what you want to do yet, and then you can apply to a major. I think it's easier to get in once you're in UT than, you know, while you're still in high school. So if you want to get into McCombs, then you can just be an undergraduate studies major, like while getting in, or apply as that, or, you know, liberal arts or Moody communications, whatever, and then just finish your credits if you don't have them yet and apply again. I believe you can apply until you're a sophomore, like second semester. So you have 4 semesters to apply to McCombs if you still want to get in.
Yeah, and I think the link is called internal transfer. If you want to do a double major or transfer your major, it has stuff about all the majors that you can internal transfer to. So if you are looking into that option, I'd say look at that part of the website. Just search up UT internal transfer, and I would definitely say that one of the things that you could do to help out when you want to transfer majors is to reach out to the professors in that college for some basic like first year classes. Like for a friend who was doing business, she reached out to one of to an MIS professor, I believe, and asked if she could take their class because she wants to know if she wants to transfer into business. And most of the times, because you reach out, those professors will say yes, and you can get admitted into a business class, and that will definitely make you stand apart. But also, it will already build that relationship that you want with the business school and with business professors.
All right, one last thing to go off of that. You can also just take like a business elective. Most of those are open to like everybody, as long as, you know, it hasn't been closed by the time you've registered. So if you're going to register and you like just look up a business elective and you see that the class is open, it doesn't hurt to just like put yourself in it and see how you like it. And if you really don't like it, you can drop it after 6 weeks. Like, it's not a big deal.
Okay, so the next question we have is how does getting an IB diploma affect your chance in getting to UT Austin, or like how did it affect your classes in UT?
Well, I think that I've said this a bit before, but IB does definitely prepare you, especially an IB diploma, because you're not just taking those IB classes, but you're doing all the other parts of being an IB student. So your extended essay, all your IAs, all your IOs, and TOK especially. I think that TOK, especially for UT Austin, it counts for one of your credits. So an IB diploma is just because you're not just doing the classes, but you're doing a bunch of other stuff along with IB, it brings a lot more credits in for UT. And I was able to get most of my core classes done by doing the IB diploma. And I know that it's scary to do all that work for a class and like worry about scoring like 7s and 8s, but you don't necessarily have to for IB. I think that most of my classes were transferable as long as I got above like a 5 or a 6. And I think that was the case for most of my fellow peers who did IB. And I think that because IB trains you to have a certain sort of worldview, especially in a college like UT Austin, which tries to look into multiple perspectives whenever you do any class, especially, for example, your UGS class, which is a first year undergraduate studies class that you take that talks about, based on the class that you take, it always tries to cover how you can, how to look at the world from multiple perspectives. Taking a class like TOK and kind of learning how to look through the world through an IB lens is definitely helpful for classes like that. So I would say it's very beneficial to do an IB diploma.
Okay, so someone has a question. How involved were your parents throughout your overall high school experience, not just driving you everywhere, but also your academics? And how important are taking prep classes for subjects, including for ACT and SAT?
I can start off with this one. Throughout high school, I feel like my parents are definitely there, but they never were the type that like really like pushed me or like were on my butt about my grades or anything like that. I know that colleges really look for self-driven students instead of people who just kind of have parents behind them. So like for me, I always kind of pushed myself academically, and I was very high achieving, and so I never really needed my parents to, you know, look over my shoulder for everything. They definitely were involved. Like I would still tell them everything that happened. I would still talk to them about applications and colleges and have all the discussions and stuff. And I know they'd also help me out a lot by connecting me with other people that they knew. So like people that got to UT or other colleges, but so I could reach out to them and talk to other students and stuff. But as far as like academic wise alone, I wouldn't say they were super involved just because I like to think that I kind of took care of that myself. And then to answer the second part, I think prep classes, I did them. I did KD, if anyone knows what that is here, for 3 years. I I'd say that I feel like it builds a good amount of consistency, but I also know people who didn't do a lot of SAT prep. They kind of just studied on their own and they got a good score. And so I really think that like if you're high achieving for like a 1500 above SAT score, pushing yourself and like really putting that work in yourself alone is really what's going to get you to that last stretch. So
Like Nandini said, like with prep classes, it's definitely possible to get the score that you want to without the prep classes. Like there's a lot of books that you can check out at the library, or like you can buy a lot of the prep books and like just work on those. But also, if I'm being honest, I did KD for 2 years, and like looking back, I don't know how much it helped. I feel like it was just a waste of money. I could have fully just done that by myself, like taken practice tests over and over again. But I know there are like a lot of other prep classes that aren't KD that will help you like focus on one thing that, like, let's say like you really struggle with a specific part of the reading section, like historical essays or something like that. Then I would recommend like going to a class, like, and actually asking questions, things like that. But if you're someone who's like just needs like practice, then just take practice tests at home. I don't think it's that big of a deal.
Adding on to like what Varsha said, I think you don't need KD, but what I did, I took KD for 3 years too, or 4 years actually. And what I felt was like the most helpful in KD was actually the practice test. I used to go every single week and just do like one practice test, like when the SAT was coming up, and like it really helped to like do a practice test and then go to the class afterwards, see what you did wrong, and then the teachers there would like explain every single question, and it really helped to see this is what I'm doing wrong, this is what I should improve on, and then you could just keep improving. Yeah. And for the strategies, I think like you could go to like the first few lessons in KD, see what strategies they have, test it out. If it works for you, then you do it. If it doesn't, then you don't have to do it, and you can come up with your own.
yeah, just to add on to that, I feel like Katie, especially if you do it for a long time, I think it kind of built a little bit of consistency, and I feel like they do a good job of like getting everyone to like a bare 1400. But then like once again, that extra stretch of wherever you want to go to is kind of on you. But I definitely do think that like the practice tests were the most important thing, just because they wrote their own tests. And so I know there's a couple online like free ones or whatever that College Board offers, but after that, like you kind of run out of tests to take. And so Katie, like I would also go do one every single week on the weekends, and then do the review, kind of go through what I went wrong or what I missed or whatever, one-on-one with the teacher, and then just kept doing that. I definitely think the SAT is one of those like practice. You just have to keep grinding and doing it over and over and over again, and really getting the strategy down to master it. But yeah. And then the other thing is, if your budget allows, I know not everyone would want to, but I did do one-on-ones with a private tutor outside of Katie for like, I believe a month or two. I found that that really helped me, because obviously it is a professional and you are one-on-one with them. And so for me, I argued a lot with my one-on-one tutor. I'd be like, why is this not the right answer? What's not the right answer? But I think having those one-on-one conversations and really like working through each and every single problem really helped me as well. But like I said, like if your budget does not allow it, that's completely fine. There's some great books and resources out there, which if you guys want me to, I'll put in the comments that really helped me. But I definitely think that it is very achievable to do on your own as well.
Yeah, one last thing. I think one good thing about KD is I think that they purposefully make their test to be a little bit harder than the actual SAT. So it automatically pushes you to do like a little bit more every time you take practice tests. So I think I found that very helpful because I would really stress in the KD testing centers. And then like when I actually took the SAT, I'd be like, this is not that bad.
So our next question is for computer science major. They asked, how difficult and useful are courses related to computer science, machine learning, artificial intelligence?
So are they asking like during college or like in high school? There's like UTD camps and all that. I could talk about those.
Yeah, you can talk about both.
Okay, so like I did do a lot of UTD camps before I went to college, and those UTD camps, they really just help you get introduced to the material, like to computer science. And like one of them was just learning about like problem solving using coding. And so these camps, I think, if you are interested in computer science, you should definitely try them. These uh, so for the second question, or the second part, which is college courses, I think all of the courses they give are in computer science. It's more based on not about how you can create applications, but more of the theory behind creating these applications. So for one example of this is like when you're actually programming, you don't really like you have these pre-computed like libraries that you can use, so you can like just copy and paste code from the internet. But what you learn in the UT classes are how you actually like come up with this pre-computed code. So a lot of it is like not that useful if you want to just go into software engineering. But if you are interested in like doing research in CS or like learning more about just CS as a whole and how computer science coding works, these classes are super useful in that aspect. But I do feel like just learning how coding these like theory stuff like uh, these actually do really help just uh, improve your coding skills, because you are trying to code something uh, like that's not too easy. It's like you're coding something that your professor gives you. So their programming assignments, those really help. Yeah. So overall, the difficulty of the CS classes are some of them are really hard. Some of them are simple. It depends on what you take. But I'd say they're all doable, and if you just like go to the lectures, understand, and then like are able to complete the programming assignments they give you.
Okay. So another question in chat is, have you heard of TAMS, Texas Academy of Math and Science, and would you recommend that students apply or go?
I have heard of TAMS. Obviously, I didn't go to TAMS, but actually all my roommates are from TAMS. They're all pre-med. So I think when I like talked to them about it, they would recommend it because they were able to take a lot of classes their junior and senior year at TAMS to like finish a lot of things, so that now they're all graduating a year early. So they'll be done by junior year. So next year is their senior year. So it just helps like knocking out credits. So that because they're pre-med and they have so much more to go, they're able to like just get there faster and not like waste 4 years and then 4 years and then whatever. So, and a lot of them also want to do gap year after they graduate. So after pre-med, if you do want to do a gap year, obviously they're technically not a year behind because they're graduating a year early. Another thing they did say about TAMS is that they really liked the like the environment there, it feels like you're a lot closer just because you'll see everyone everywhere. You'll have basically the same people in all of your classes and like clubs and everything that you do. And also, other than like just courses and everything, it does prep you for college because you're going away from home, you know, you're staying at the dorm there and all of that. It just feels like college. So I think that was a good thing about TAMS, but also I will say it's not a do or die situation. I think if you really do want to go to TAMS and you get in, like, I think it would be a good thing to go if you want to.
I think there's two sides to that coin. I feel like for pre-med, obviously I feel like it would be really helpful, but I haven't heard a lot of like business people or other majors like go to TAMS or really like get too much out of it. So I definitely would kind of talk to people in your major if you know anyone and try to figure that out. I do think it's really helpful in like Varsha said, starting that college experience up because you are away from home, you are dorming with the people. You will need to go out of your way to like meet with other students and work with them, which is very much what the college experience also is like. But also I do know a lot of friends that went to TAMS, and it is also a very stressful environment. So if that's not your way to go, it wouldn't be something that like I would recommend for you, because I think you could do just as fine staying at whatever school you are at right now and still getting into UT. It's definitely not something that you need to do or that I would go out of my way to recommend someone to do. But if it is something that you are interested in and you've talked to people and you like the idea of it, I think it is worth a look.
One thing with TAMS is that if you want to be like a CS major, TAMS does offer classes that you can do in like advance for computer science, and so it helps you like get ahead. Maybe like if you're interested in CS, it'll like solidify that interest. And so because of this, I know a lot of like CS friends who went to TAMS, and they all went to pretty good colleges. Like I know one person who went to Cornell. A lot of other people went to like Ivy League. So I feel like if you're getting ahead, it does like help. But you could also just go the couple high school route or high school route, and that shouldn't that you can still get into all these colleges if you just you can also just try to work ahead, or just work, just do normally, and you should also like have a good chance.
Someone asked, should a biomedical engineering major take computer science classes in high school?
So obviously none of us here are biomedical engineering majors, but I definitely do think that taking CS classes regardless of your major does help. I mean, I'm a business major and I took CS classes in high school. I know medical people that also did. I feel like CS is just around us everywhere. Like even if like worst case, maybe your major of choice doesn't work out for you, it's a really easy thing to fall back on. And like I'm sure Chaitanya can say more, but computer science is literally everywhere around us. So I feel like just having like super basic knowledge, even if it's only like one or two classes, you don't have to go like super into it, like AP, all of that, whatever. But definitely like having some sort of like basic knowledge about it, I feel like never ever could hurt. So yeah.
Okay, and someone asked, how many APs did you guys take, and do you think that matters?
I can start off. If I'm being honest, I don't remember. I really have no clue. I graduated 2 years ago. And I don't know how many APs I took. And I think that goes to show that it doesn't matter that much. I think when you're in high school, you're like, oh my God, as soon as you're a sophomore, you have to start taking as many APs as possible. But take the ones that are important. Like you don't have to stress about AP Human Geography or World History, because in all honesty, even if you transfer those credits, they'll count as electives because no college cares about Human Geography or World History. So take like, if you want to do pre-med, take AP Bio. If you want to like take AP Physics or things like that. So just take the ones that matter. Don't take all of them because you think that putting stress on you will help you get into college, because it won't.
I don't think people stress how big of a scam AP is. Like, it literally is the most irrelevant thing ever, and I don't know why it's made such a big deal of it. I only like it only kind of hit me senior year after I did all of it, but like I'll say this, I just graduated so I can remember how many I did each year. I did one, I did what's it, human geography freshman, world history sophomore year. I did 3 my junior year and then 7 senior year. In my junior year, I failed 2 out of 3. And my senior year, I failed 1 out of 7. So overall, throughout high school, I failed 3 APs. Let me tell you, it does not matter at all. And also, so the reason why I stacked on all my APs my senior year is because I felt like my first 3 years of high school, I didn't do enough APs, right? So I was like, crap, like I gotta get all these credits out of the way, blah, blah, I'll just do everything. And it was, it literally was like the worst idea ever. So when you're looking into APs, I definitely would research, like go ahead. I know a lot of the colleges offer like a search catalog or whatever where you can search up like the AP classes and see if those actual classes get you out of anything, give you any credit for whatever major you want to study. And only then, if it is helpful to take them and worry about passing them because it could give you credit. But like, it really does not matter how many you take. Like, they're not going to count all of your APs all high school long and be like, oh, this person only took 12 versus this person took 15. So like this one's better. Like it's not like that at all. It does not matter at all.
One thing I will say, I think like Nandini said, credits. Also, if you like do want to knock out like your basic core credits, like if you take an English, a math, and whatever, like obviously, and then you pass that, you can get away with it, get away with that credit. But also, you don't have to take the class to take the exam. So if you find an AP class that's pretty easy, like, you know, whatever, and you just want either an elective credit or the actual core credit, you don't have to stress all year long with that class. Just like study and take the exam. I'm pretty sure anyone can just apply to take the AP exam as long as you pay. So.
And also like vice versa on that route as well. Sorry, Veda. You can obviously not take the class but sign up for the exam and pass it if you're trying to get college credit out of the way. But if you're taking AP classes for the GPA boost, but you don't want to actually take the exam, don't take the exam because AP season is super stressful. You do not want to add another useless like class to it. Like I also signed up for all 7 exams, and let me tell you, it was the most useless thing I ever did because half of them don't even give me credit anyway. So there's no point in signing up for the exams. So if you're just doing the GPA boost, just because you want your high school GPA to go up because of advanced classes, definitely stay away from the AP exams if you don't need that as well. So it goes both ways.
Yeah, to build on what you said, I definitely think that like researching that credit before you take an AP exam, because AP is a lot of commitment. I took 6 APs my junior year during COVID. It was great. And most of the time my teachers didn't teach me anything because we were still trying to move online. And I also did take IB classes while doing those AP exams because I took them separately compared to my IB classes. And I think that I think like out of all the credits, all the AP exams I think I took 7. Only 5 accounted for credits, and 2 of them didn't even matter because I didn't need them for my major. Core, UT has a very clear core program, and I'd say when you're applying to that to any of your colleges, look at what the core credits are necessary, like what necessary core credits you need, and make sure that you pick your AP and IB classes based on what core credits you want to get rid of. But also, a lot of people say take some AP classes that are in your major to show that you can do that sort of level of studying. Like for my friends who did pre-med, they did multiple IB and AP science classes. So things like that.
Oh yeah, I can.
Okay, so someone asked, how's the culture at UT Austin in terms of student-teacher relationships?
I think it would depend on the class. If you're taking like Math 101, there's gonna be so many students in that class because like everybody will either try to get rid of that credit or like it's an introduction class, everyone will do it. But if you're taking a more specific class, it's really easy to connect with your teacher. And honestly, no, I take that back what I said at first. You can get close to your professor even if it's a really big class, as long as you go to office hours. Almost every professor offers office hours like at least 2 or 3 times a week. Or you can go to the TAs as well. TAs have discussion sections or office hours, so you can go to either. And what I've seen so far in my experience at UT is it's been really easy to talk to my professors, like tell them any concerns I have, ask them any questions. There was last semester, I was part of a 5-week class that did like on-site things. So we used to go to the company and like work on startups or like make products for startups, but it was like a fake thing. But in that, during that process, I figured out like an idea that I wanted to start. So I talked to my professor and like he helped me out a lot on what to do and like where to go next. So because those professors are people who are already in that profession, like professors aren't just teachers, they also do like that actual job on the side. They really like what they're doing and they will help you like when you have questions. A lot of times people think that professors can be like harsh or like it's difficult to approach them, but they'll be brutally honest, but I think it's still good to like go talk to them and like still maintain that relationship.
Okay, so someone wants to know about the financial costs for the college.
So UT, I think you can find everything about how to tally what your financial costs are on the website. I can send that link, but basically based on the college that you are in, the cost changes. So like, I think for fine arts, it's around, they bumped it up to like 5,800, but for business, it's like 6,500, something around the lines of that. I think that like 7,000. Yes, they've increased it. Wonderful. Yeah. I think that if you are worried about your financial aid, one thing that UT does is doing a fixed tuition rate where when you first join the college, if you know that you're not doing like a minor or a double major or other extra stuff on top of your current major, you can sign up for that fixed tuition rate. That way you're paying the same tuition rate from your first year, all 4 years. And then definitely FAFSA. I don't really know much about the details of that financial aid because UT's merit scholarships are very picky. And it's mostly just private scholarships that help you with getting scholarship money for UT.
Yeah, I definitely say Austin's kind of picky with, aid and scholarships and stuff. If you're a valedictorian, you have a full ride for your first year and a half ride the rest of UT. So you luck out there, but I mean, besides that, they don't really help. I know FAFSA helped me a little bit just because I also have an older brother at UT. And so when you're doing your FAFSA and you put that in, they'll ask you how many siblings you have, where did they go, blah, blah, blah. And so when you kind of put in all those like information, and then we also put our like family assets and all of that, when you put all of that in, they'll estimate like an amount that they think you'll be able to pay. And then based on that, when they send that to like whatever college you actually go to, they'll like consider that. So like for me, UT gave me $750 each semester as just a scholarship, just probably because of my brother that I talked to my other friends about and they didn't get. So I'm assuming that has to do with like your family situation. So FAFSA would probably be the one to go. And then also I never applied, but I know like the 40 Acres Scholars Program or whatever, they also give out some scholarships or whatever. So, but it's also very picky. So yeah, it's expensive. So.
Yeah, I think that's definitely a downside. I remember when I applied for FAFSA, I think I got like $1.50. So it doesn't help as much with UT, but I think compared to a lot of other colleges, in-state tuition isn't so bad. I think depending on your situation, it's still fairly affordable. But like Veda and Nandini said, if you're doing business or if you're doing a lot of other extracurricular, it just keeps adding on in your semester. So if you are worried about that, I would recommend like spacing out your things throughout your 4 years so that you're not paying $8,000 or $9,000 per semester.
Yeah, I think that also there are certain emergency relief funds that UT offers. Like some of my friends were able to get like a they call it the UT Stimmy, and it's like a stimulus check that they give students towards the end of an academic year to help them out with college. And I think that I don't necessarily know the details of it, but when you do apply to UT, talk to your school counselor about looking into those emergency funds and how you can apply to those.
Also, one thing, if you're worried about the cost of UT, one thing I heard from like someone else was that because you're at UT, it's also easier to get internships and stuff like that. So if you're worried about that, then you should go ahead and definitely apply for internships. A lot of these will give you a lot of money. So yeah, it shouldn't be too bad.
Yeah, internships, definitely, like if you do an internship for like 3 months in the summer, that should be good for like a year of tuition, usually depending on where you go. Also, you can just do like a part-time job on campus to help you out with like groceries or paying for your apartment or dorm, things like that. Because you are on campus, a lot of your like managers or wherever you're working part-time will understand that you have classes and will be very flexible with you. Like you don't have a really fixed schedule, and you can tell them last minute, like, hey, like a test came up or something came up and I can't make it. Like they'll be fine with it, but you'll still be making like pocket money. That will be really helpful for other things.
Yeah, UT has a lot of options for those programs. Like I think Handshake is very helpful. You can get a lot of job offers from Handshake, and there's always posters all over campus about the different places that you can work. Like I spent this past summer working at the UT call center, and they paid pretty well. And now I can pay for a good chunk of my apartment costs because of it.
Do you guys know how double majoring works at UT Austin?
Yeah, I guess I can answer this because I was looking into double majoring. It works very similarly to internal transfer. So basically, they have the same application. You have to fulfill the same requirements as an internal transfer application when you apply to a double major. And then there's an application that's due like towards the end of the semester. And you'll hear back like a few months later. And for double majors, you get to have access to both counselors from your original major and your second major, and they help you figure out a schedule that works because UT has a very big importance towards graduating on time. But on top of that, UT also doesn't really like people who do double majors. It's very difficult to double major at UT. If you do double major, you have to work much harder and you have to show that you can graduate on time because UT holds a lot of importance towards making sure that it gets its students in and out of the college after 4 years. So when you do double major, make sure that you know that you can handle 2 majors because you have enough credits to do all of that together.
Another thing to add on to that is I actually don't know how it would work if you like apply before you get in, but after you get in, like you get in with whatever major, and then later you're like, oh, I want to major in something else as well. And then you apply to that one and you get in. And let's say you had finished that first major that you got in with earlier because you started earlier, you can just be a part-time student for an extra semester to like finish the other one while also working. So you technically still like walk at graduation, even though you're not done with your classes afterwards. So I wouldn't stress as much about being like, oh, I have like twice the workload. I need to get everything done, in 4 years. That you can always stay like an extra semester, but not be a full-time student. And it wouldn't affect you that much.
UT also has an auditing tool that will like easily help you like see like how much more you have of each major. And so if you like want to decide like you have enough time to finish a double major, you can easily use this auditing tool to figure out. So I think you can apply for a double major anytime, and just based on this tool, you should be able to finish it or not.
Okay, so the next question is there an emphasis on high ACT scores for getting into UT, especially if you want to join a STEM-related course?
Yes. I think the first two things they look at is your rank and then immediately your SAT or ACT. Um, Especially for STEM majors that are really competitive, I definitely do think it matters a lot. So do not skip out on SAT. Like I said earlier in this call, don't apply test optional either. Just submit whatever score you have. And if it's not where you want it to be, definitely focus on those other parts of your application and try to stand out in your essays or wherever else.
So we have a question about studying abroad. Like, how would it work while you're at the college?
So study abroad is like you have to focus, or based on the application, you have to see like what classes are being offered at whatever study abroad you want to do. So it's called Maymester, and you kind of leave middle of May, right before school ends, and it's just for like 1-2 classes wherever you go. Like one of my roommates' friends went to Spain, and then another one of my roommates went to Singapore for Maymester this last May. So the way it works is you just apply and then you pay that fee. And 9 out of 10 times people just get in just because it's the same thing, like classes that you're doing here, but you just go do it there. So I know management and business offers a lot of study abroad. I was thinking of applying for marketing, but I just ended up going because I had an internship. So it's not that difficult, and you can honestly just see once you're in, like you can look up like study abroad and see like, okay, like this Macombs is offering so and so classes, and even if you're not a part of that school, I'm pretty sure you can still apply and try to get in, as long as you have their prerequisites done. So the way it would work is you finish your school year and then you go Maymester, or if you want to study abroad for the entire semester, it's the same thing. Like the classes you're doing at UT, you will be doing there. So it's not like double, like you have to come back and do the same once again. It's just transfers over.
Yeah, and actually some majors offer or have required study abroads as part of their program. Like a lot of College of Liberal Arts majors required that. And I know that like in business, international business requires you to take a semester abroad. And because of that, most of these colleges will have the time for your study abroad included in your degree plan. Definitely, if you're looking into majoring at UT, degree plans are available for everyone to the public, so you can know what classes you have to take and when you might have to take them. And you can look into maybe seeing where you want to fit a study abroad. Especially Maymesters, like Varsha said, are very helpful because they're only 5 weeks. You can take one course and you still get that study abroad experience.
I think we touched on this before, but are there any research or internship opportunities in the comp sci field that you know of?
So for research, you can probably just reach out to professors, ask them if they want to do research, or if they have any research spots open. I think this is like the same thing for like almost every field. You just reach out to a professor. For internships, they're like you would have to apply like during your like first semester of school, and then um, this would then like you'd get some interviews and then you'd have to apply. So it's not like you have a guaranteed research position or internship position, but if you're able to do well in your like you're more likely to get it because you're in UT Austin, which is a pretty has a good reputation, and you're not applying to internships that are only in UT Austin. You could, I think UT Austin might have something, but you're applying to like for me, I'm currently interning at Oracle right now, so you're applying to internships that are out of UT Austin, and so it's like a summer long internship that you work at somewhere else. Yeah.
And then someone asked, what's the best way to get the most out of a university program and make connections to upscale job opportunities?
Well, like we said, UT has professors who are proficient in their fields. They're very, like one of my professors has her own industrial design firm, and basically she offers internships to students that she thinks are promising. So your professors are probably your biggest direct tool to getting a great job. So making sure that you build that connection is very important, because when they know that they can count on a student, they will recommend them to a lot of programs. Like another one of my industrial design professors recently submitted one of our fellow classmates for a very important design award. And she's been getting a lot of internship offers now from a lot of companies. So I would definitely say your professors, but also UT does have a lot of career services, and you can talk to your counselors about looking into what internships are great for what you want.
Another thing that's really important is after you apply to whatever through, whatever, whether it's that company or LinkedIn, reach out to the career counselor of that company and be like, hey, my name is so-and-so, like, this is who I am. I applied, like, let me know my update. Just like taking that extra step and will make you stand out, and they'll be like, oh, like this person actually reached out to me. Let me go look at their application. Also, I think Veda had mentioned recommendations, whether it's recommendations from professors or like, someone else who works at that company, or your parents know, your siblings, is don't apply unless they have put in a recommendation. Don't apply before they put in their recommendations, what I mean. So only after the recommendation goes through, apply through the recommendation, because that will also be another thing that'll help you stand out. So my sister, I have an older sister, like she works at Blue Origin, but she knew some people at Apple. So only after like they had sent me the link of their recommendation is when she was like, okay, now apply. Because if you do it before and then they do the recommendation, like your application will get lost. But obviously if you don't know anybody, just apply, like that's fine. And then reach out to that like career advisor from that company, because that will be really helpful.
Okay, so we have 2 more questions. Have any of your friends taken the CNA EMT classes offered in Frisco ISD through the CTE Center?
I'm the only one who went to Frisco ISD over speakers. I would definitely say yes, take the CNA EMT classes. All my friends who were looking at med or anything were all CNA certified, and it also really helps for like job opportunities nearby. I know a friend of mine was CNA certified, and then I worked at CVS, and so did she. She worked store like the front with me for like a couple weeks before she got transferred to pharmacy, which paid a lot better. And obviously, like working as a farm tech is really good for your college apps. But you needed to be certified for that. And so I think that being certified in those, whatever classes and all that definitely helps if you're looking to go down that road.
Okay, and then our last question is, what are some tips on how to balance school and life?
In college or high school?
I guess both.
Oh.
Do you want to go first?
Sure. If I'm being fully honest, I know it sounds like cliche and corny, but like have a schedule, is know your priorities and have a schedule during the week, whether it's like, okay, I'm gonna focus like Monday to Thursday, just get all my work done so I have nothing for the weekend, or whether like extracurriculars is just for the weekend, so that way you have time to actually spend time with your friends and like go out, because that is also really important. If you're like lonely in college, it takes a toll on your mental health, just because like you're new, everything is new, you're trying to figure out like your way of life, buying groceries, like cooking for yourself. That's one thing I didn't realize was really on my mind a lot, is where my next meal is coming from. Not necessarily like the money aspect, but like I have to get up and cook type of thing. So it's really important to have a good group of friends who like take care of you and you take care of them. So don't just sit 24/7 like in your room or like at the library and try to be like, okay, I have to take this class, do this and do that. Just like make a schedule and be like, okay, like these many days I'm going to do schoolwork, and the rest of the time I'm going to focus on extracurriculars or like my work or internship, and then spending time with your friends, because both are important at the end of the day. So I don't know how I did it. It definitely takes a long time to get used to the fact that you're responsible for a lot of your things. Like after, it's like the small things I didn't realize I needed to, like laundry or like washing the dishes, cleaning up after myself, cooking and then washing the dishes again, like buying groceries, throwing away expired products. So it, like things like that. Also just focus like on yourself.
Yeah, I would definitely say for schedules are very important. One more thing is, as a freshman, I made a very big mistake in my first semester, and I took 18 hours of credit classes, which totaled to around like 21 with a bunch of like discussion stuff. And on top of that, I was in 5 organizations. And it's very different from how clubs are when you're in high school, because in high school clubs meet like maybe once or twice a week and you basically do your work in the clubs. But for college, your work for the club is not just that 1 hour meeting that you have once or twice a week. It's more than that. I had to write an essay for one of my clubs. I was in a different club where they had us like work on building an app, and they take a lot of work. And when you make that commitment to join a club and send your resume in, make sure that you know what you're getting into, because I ended up having to drop out from a few of them because I wasn't able to just put that time commitment with everything that I had going on. And knowing your limits are very important in college. Don't just try to dive headfirst in because you want to stand out, and kind of do everything at once. But also on top of balancing your life, I would say as a freshman, we stay in our dorms a lot. We don't really leave our dorms because it's very comfortable. And after a long day of just walking around campus, you want to just sit in your bed and relax. But it's very important to just leave your dorm room, even if it is just going down to the food hall downstairs or like to one of the more common meeting rooms. Just getting outside of there is very important. Like, I think that I didn't really start doing that until my like later in my first semester. And honestly, that helped me a lot because I spent like the last month just studying at the union or studying at the library or the student activity center. And honestly, that helped my mental health a lot more. And I think that that's what got me through finals week personally. So I would say definitely leave your room. It's very important.
Veda had mentioned orgs. There's a lot of also social orgs that you can be a part of. Like if you're, let's say you're going out of state and like you're new to that state, you don't know anybody there, join social orgs, like get to know people. Every freshman, like you're all in the same boat. Like everybody is looking for somebody and everyone just wants to interact and like make good friends. So join social orgs, or even like whether you're joining like other orgs that are more competitive and have like you do work. They also have a lot of like socials every week, and you can go to those, like meet people, talk to people. So those are also really helpful in like building a good group of friends for you. But then again, like Veda said, don't do like 6 or 7 of them per semester just because you're like stressed and like scared. I think that's a mistake that I did, because I did my freshman year during COVID, and I was really more scared that I would not have like a good group of friends that I joined everything and anything that I could join. And it stressed me out because it was during COVID and I was also trying to take classes and build connections with the professors that I really wasn't sure where I was going. But just 2 or 3 like clubs and orgs, and then, you know, your classes, you know, they're doing 15 or 16 hours per semester, like that's fine. I don't think anything more than that is needed.
I think for high school, especially when you have a huge workload, like it gets hard to balance like your social life and your school life and family and whatever priorities that you have. 2 things that really helped me. One, for sure, calendars are like your best friend. Like people say it and then like never go through with it. But like as a senior, I had a bunch of APs and then also like obviously parties or whatever. I had a job and like tennis and all of that. And so like you'll make, or like I used to make mental notes of like, oh, I have to like do this, don't forget. And then I completely forget because I have so much on my plate that, you know, whenever it actually comes by, like I completely forget. And so when you have a calendar, whether it be a physical calendar or like a virtual calendar, like Google or, you know, whatever, make like I know you can color code them and all of that. And so definitely being organized and staying on top of your schedule is a really important thing. And then also the second thing is like relating to workload. I am a huge procrastinator. I'm sure almost everyone is. One thing that I found that really helped me like stay on track was rewarding yourself for doing your work. So like I would basically do a thing where like I would completely grind out my work for 30 minutes nonstop. I'd set a timer on my phone for 30 minutes and completely throw it aside. And for 30 minutes straight, just completely grind it out with no breaks or anything. And then when I finished that 30-minute interval, I would give myself a rest, maybe 15 minutes of a Netflix show or YouTube or whatever, TikTok, whatever it may be. And so it's like rewarding yourself a little bit like of breaks and like rest time for doing your work, and then trying to work through that periodically. And spacing yourself out is also really helpful so you don't get too stressed out, and like you're still able to balance like your sleep and like your health and priorities and all that. So yeah.
Also in college, I think it's good to have like a group of people that are on the same, I guess, like balanced level as you are, like someone who wants to do all these extracurriculars, but also is focusing on their studies, but also like wants to go out to a party with you. So that way you can like work together and you both have an incentive. Like let's say Friday night you have something to go to, like both, or you know, your group of friends can like sit together and finish all your work together by like Thursday, so that you have an incentive for finishing your work, so that Friday you're like free and you have things to do. Also, if you're doing business, one good thing is there are no Friday classes, so you have a 3-day weekend every weekend. So that obviously gives you extra time to do whatever you want to do, whether it's, you know, work or hanging out.
Okay, so thank you guys so much. Since we don't have any questions, we can end the meeting. And if you guys want to reach out to any of their Instagrams, we will have it posted. Yeah, thank you guys so much.
We really appreciate it.